Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us for our show today, which is Find the Pattern, Find the Lesson. So do you ever find yourself falling for that same guy or getting that same shitty job and having people treat you badly or never quite having enough? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm Miss Chrissy B with the PNK Files, your emergency kit for life. And this is Darlene Turner with Victim to Victory.
Hi, everyone. So remember last week we talked about how what we're told, what we experienced, and what we saw creates our belief system and how we show up in life. Today we're going to dive a little deeper into this. I wanted to talk about the movie Groundhog Day and how he repeated the same day over and over and over. And he began to realize the lessons and how to show up in life a little differently. And he was able to finally, in the end, shift the day by letting go of control. Instead of trying to control all the little situations throughout the day, he just approached the day from his heart, and that shifted everything. And he was able to get out of that repeated cycle.
Yeah.
So can you think of somewhere in your life where you repeat that cycle over and over and over again? I was raised, from my own experience, in a fear-based controlling religion. So that was my comfort zone. That's what I knew, was to be in that controlling, and then later on, very fear-based relationships. So once I realized this pattern, and I realized that I had built my whole life around fear, I was able to, well, what did I learn from that? Well, I learned to be courageous, and I learned to be strong, and I learned perseverance, and so many of those things, life lessons that are so valuable. And so once I took those lessons and applied it to get myself out of fear, it shifted everything in my life, and it no longer fit into my life. So I want you to really understand this piece. Whatever you're taught, you believe and experience is how you show up in life. Do you like what's showing up in your life, or don't you like what's showing up in your life?
Yeah.
And you have the power to change it.
You know, I like the analogy that I learned years ago in a workshop I did, and it's about, think about yourself as a filing system. So those things that we're taught, and when we hear somebody saying, oh, you're stupid, or who do you think you are, you're not worthy, you're nothing. And if you've got that file, because that's your belief system and what you've been taught, it's like, oh, I'll grab that. I've got a file for that. I'm going to put it right here and own it instead of changing it, right? So it's real easy for us. We have to start changing those files so there's nowhere to put that, so we don't take it on. One of my files is, I'm really bad at technology. So I went, and it doesn't matter who's really good at it. If they're around me, things just go wrong. And I own that. So I'm at the bank the other day, and I'm getting internet banking put on. And so I got this young girl. She knows technology. She helps me on my phone, downloads this app, starts punching everything in. And she looks at it and she goes, well, that's weird. I've never seen that before. So she reached, and I said, oh, don't worry about it. That happens when I'm around, because technology just doesn't work when I'm around. So she tried it 3 times. We got locked out of the whole banking system and had to reset it 3 times. And I was like, wow, I don't only not make it work for me, I just made it not work for the whole banking system. And then I loved it when you said, when I was telling you that story the other day, and you're like, wow, are you ever powerful? And I went, oh, that stopped me in my tracks. I never thought about it that way. And it's like, that's a better way to look at it. Instead of going, oh, I always screw up technology, it's like, look how powerful I am. And that's going to work for me better. So that's what I'm going to have, that file now.
That's
I'm going
a
to put my
perfect.
power to better use.
Absolutely. That's a perfect example of how powerful our words are and our belief. When you absolutely believe that technology messes up every time for you and there's just no hope, really,
Yeah.
you were able to shift all the computers even at the bank. So that's pretty huge. So
Yeah.
that's a big realization. And for an example for all of us to go by, like, wow, being aware of what we're putting out there for the universe, because it's actually a magnetic pull back to us, and it's powerful. So, oh, when we can focus on what we want rather than what we don't want, life, society is always showing us, expect the worst, or, just always looking at life in a negative way rather than a positive way. But when we can kind of shift that, then it helps change everything, because we're showing up more looking for the positive rather than looking for the negative and sending that out to the universe. So, yeah,
So
that's.
what are some of the ways then that we can recognize those beliefs and the patterns that play out?
Well, first of all, is really becoming aware of your emotions when you're dealing with a person or maybe a circumstance, and you're getting a charge going on. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's fear, maybe it's you resent this person. I don't know, like whatever it is you got going on for yourself, acknowledging that emotion. Like, why is this person making me so angry? Like, what is it about that? And then being able to, first of all, we have to take the charge out of the emotion, because once there's a charge, then we're just thinking this is all just happening to me and this person has wronged me, and no, no, no.
Right.
So yeah,
I
so that.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, you know what? I actually remember when that first when the technology thing happened with me. I was going through court. I was going through a terrible divorce, and I hadn't learned about computers because I was busy, dealing with family and things like that. And my I've had my life ripped out from under me, and everything that I need to do to try and survive has to do with being on a computer. So it became, I was afraid to even open. I remember opening up my laptop and being afraid of what was going to be there, because it was always something. And that's where that fear and trauma came from.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the whole point for everyone, is to be able to kind of go back and look at where did this actually start from, and being able to pinpoint that at that origin where it started, so that you can realize, okay, this happened, this experience I saw, I was told, whatever it is that left you feeling powerless in the situation, and being able to bring that forward. Now I want to show up this way rather than in fear or overwhelm or anger. So that's a big piece. And sometimes when you're in the middle of a pattern, it's really hard to actually identify this pattern. So, like for me, it took two marriages and 27 years before I actually come to the realization that my whole life was built around fear, and how I was controlled by fear, and it controlled everything I did. I was stuck and frozen in that. So when we can release this emotion through some of the tools that we shared in our other shows about breath work, walking in nature, maybe it's exercise, or maybe if it's anger, just a safe place there you could just like yell it out in your car, in a pillow, whatever it is, so that you can just get this emotion out of you, and being able to look at the situation from a place of neutrality, so that you can be the observer and see, what is this showing me, what interaction am I having with this, and what role am I playing.
Yeah.
um, and life is happening for you. It may not feel like that, but it really is, to so that you can learn these lessons and get these virtues, like I said, courage and strength, or whatever it is. And then you can move past that repeated pattern into a place of empowerment. Patterns are like a magnetic pull, and it keeps you from not seeing the healthy alternatives there. So that's a big part.
Right. Okay. So what are our 3 tips for today so people can see their patterns and start making different choices?
Well, the first tip is really becoming aware. And that's a big one, like it's sometimes hard to look at our own stuff. We always think, oh, this person's doing this and this person's doing that. But when we can actually bring it in and bring it home, what is happening? What is my pattern playing out? And it could be just as simple as identifying your comfort zone, and then from that, you can realize how that's keeping you stuck, right? So that's one. And then number 2 is making a list of these experiences. So what's on repeat? What's, even looking, from your childhood on and looking at what keeps playing out over and over and making a list of all these things. It could be even, like I said, as simple as every time I get in an argument, I sit on the couch and eat a bucket of ice cream, like that's a pattern. It's like not being able to deal with those emotions. So we just kind of shut it off and self comfort in a way, in a dysfunctional way, really, rather than really being aware and looking at it. And then my 3rd tip is, now that you have the list and you're aware of this pattern, now you can come and look at it from this new vantage point. So looking at the patterns from your new vantage point, your new perspective, what are they showing you? Is it value? Is it, like me, I was based on fear. So taking back my personal power or empowering myself that I could do this and create a different life. That's huge, right? So what is it that you've learned or can take home from watching and looking at these patterns and observing them from a place of neutrality? And
Nice. I like those. Those are nice, easy tips that we can all go do. I'm going to work on those this next week. I've really enjoyed all the tips and it's making a huge difference. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's absolutely changed my life, because once we become aware, then that is absolutely the ticket, is to be able to shift everything. So I think it's a powerful, powerful tools to use this week.
Yes. Okay, go over the 3 tips real quick one more time.
All right. Number 1, be aware, become an observer and see what it is in your life that keeps playing out. Do you like it or do you don't like it? Number 2, make the list, write it down. I continually see this showing up in my life. Number 3, what is it teaching you? What are you learning from it? And from that place, you actually can create your hero story. And that's huge, because then that's where the healing happens. That's where you take back your power and you're able to take these new virtues forward in your life and create this new life of being able to show up in a new way that's more standing in your power.
Mm-hmm. Create new files.
Create new files, right?
Yes. Create new files to put all of that nice new change. Yes.
Thank you for adding that.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably almost the same if you really look at it, if you're in an emotion, then it's like, okay, so that's the trigger. That's the, like with Chrissy and her computer, it just sent her right into overwhelm right away and panic and anxiety. Yeah. Or maybe it is resentment. And so once you can kind of go back then, like I had said, to the origin, where did it start? Where did I first feel this? And sometimes it is in childhood and you may not even have a direct memory of it. But if you look at how you were raised, like parents fighting, or maybe you're bullied at school, somewhere along that line, there is where that pattern started, where you felt abandoned or rejected or whatever it is. And then later it becomes a deeper feeling. So that's kind of my answer around that one. It's getting to the origin.
Thank you for your comment.
Yeah. And we encourage all of you, please write your comments and tell us what maybe pattern you're recognizing in your life. And yeah, we would love to hear from you.
Yes. So As usual, we promise to keep this short and sweet. We value your time. Please come and visit me at misschrissyd.com and learn how to start putting your P&K files together. Do not leave your life to chance. Come and join us every Sunday at 10 o'clock for the new perspective on trauma, abuse, chronic pain, and the steps to a healthy and thriving life. We will see you next week.
Bye, everyone.